call the meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to the November 18th, 2025 meeting of the Bryan Board of Public Affairs. John, will you please do roll call?
I will. Annette Schreiner.
Here.
Bob Eyre.
Yes.
Jim Salsbury.
Here.
Dick Long.
Present.
And Karen Ford.
Present. Thank you. First on the agenda is to approve the minutes from the November 4th, 2025 meeting. Everyone, you have been presented with the written minutes of the meeting. Are there any changes or corrections to the way they are written? If there are none, I would like a motion to approve, please.
So moved. Second.
Dick.
Yes.
Jim.
Yes.
Annette.
Yes.
Bob.
Yes.
And Karen.
Yes. Next on the agenda is a hearing of public concerns. Anyone here like to come to the podium? Seeing none, we'll move on. Next on the agenda is the Clerk-Treasurer's Report. John?
Yeah, like usual, the board has received the financial statements, bank statements, bank reconciliations, and the like for the month ended October 31st. And as usual, I'd entertain any questions you might have, or feel free to call me anytime.
I do have a question, John. Looking at your report, there's a category, unclaimed money funds, and there's approximately about $29,000 in there. What is that?
Basically, if the city issues a check that doesn't get cashed, we put it into the unclaimed monies fund. If the check shows up or someone says, hey, I didn't get paid 12 months ago or something, we can verify that that was done, and we'll either cut a new check or what usually happens is there's a 5-year waiting period in which the money sits in the unclaimed monies fund. After 5 years, Ohio Revised Code says we can move that money into the city's general fund.
Okay. My question I have is that money that's available to the Good Neighbor Fund versus the general fund of the city? I'm thinking that there's a great need out there.
Without some action, I would say no. I mean, the
What
board
kind of action
or the
would
city
we-
council, I mean, there would have to be action taken to two things. So let's clarify. If it's not utility money, I mean, if they were checks that we wrote to a vendor for the police department or something
Sure,
like that,
understand.
then you get into mixing the monies between the utility funds and the
City.
regular governmental funds of the city. So if it were in fact determined that, yeah, we had $8,000 of that and it was related to vendor payments we had made on behalf of the electric fund, then we could, I'd have to think through that. But yes, at the very least, the board or the council would have to take action to fund the Good Neighbor account. There'd be no automatic mechanism for me to just
Right.
move that money into there.
And I'm just curious, I look at, it's $29,000, I'm thinking, that's a good sizable amount. There's a need out in the community. Is this an opportunity for us to help?
So every year, there's this rolling 5-year window, and every year some portion of that hits the 5-year mark, and we make a transfer to the general fund. I'd have to do some, and we have it all identified. I just have to look at the spreadsheet or the database that we keep and know where those funds were originated. If they were utility funds, I would say we could have further discussion. I wouldn't rule it out, but I'd have to look into how we would do that.
Just a question I asked when I saw
Yeah.
unclaimed funds, because the world we live in today, there's a need.
Yeah. The truth is, the revised code says you move it into the general fund. The revised code also says you can do anything you want with general fund dollars, or the city council can. So if you wanted, if the council chose to move that money to the Good Neighbor Fund, that would be at their discretion.
So that's an option.
There we go, Mayor.
I didn't get a vote on either of those boards, if you remember. I think the other thing, though, with the Good Neighbor Fund is that my understanding that all of that money is donation and it's not actually ratepayer money. So that's something to note too. And balance was about $11,000 last I checked, so it's got a healthy amount in it right now. And they contact NOCAC in order to.
But there's more to help.
Sure, but the way the board set up the Good Neighbor Fund is, I believe, and again, it's been years since I've talked about this policy, but I believe it's a one-time use per resident that qualifies, and the board and NOCAC work together to set up those requirements and stipulation and rules. That part actually didn't involve any city council conversation at the time because it was literally donations made on behalf of that. BMU obviously was the beneficiary of that by bills being paid for electric and water. It's electric and water, right? Sewer's not included in that. So not saying there isn't a need, but do think the balance is healthy today. And I think Sylvia and Derek keep a very close eye on those balances every month with NOCAC.
John, thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions about the Clerk-Treasurer Report for October 2025? If there are none, may I please have a motion?
I'll make a motion, we accept the Clerk-Treasurer's Report.
I will second it.
Karen,
Yes.
Annette,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
and Dick.
Yes.
Next on the agenda is a resolution to authorize an update to the BMU Compensation Plan. Derek. John.
Resolution number 38, 2025, updating the Bryan Municipal Utilities Compensation Plan for non-bargaining unit hourly and salaried staff.
Sorry about that, John. Derek.
So, yeah, again, this resolution would update the compensation plan. This would add the previously created communications supervisor position into the compensation plan as we prepare for Joe's retirement and the transition. Found it necessary to have this added in there. Willis Towers Watson completed this assessment. We used the same methodology, data, and approach as they did when the compensation plan was adopted. The supervisor position would be assigned to pay grade 70, and this applies to all non-bargaining hourly and salary positions. There were no other changes made to the compensation plan, so would respectfully request that the update to the compensation plan be authorized.
Any questions?
I will make a motion that we approve Resolution 38.
I have a second.
Jim,
Yes.
Dick,
Yes.
Annette,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
and Karen.
Next on the agenda is the presentation of the 2026 utility budgets.
All right, so we have a brief slide deck prepared for you tonight to talk through the proposed 2026 budget. Just know that the budget is a living, working document, and there have been minor changes since we provided you with a printed copy. So we'll go ahead and get started in the electric utility. And we're going to start with talking about power supply. Power supply is our largest annual expense. Typically represents 74 to 77% of our total O&M cost. For 2026, AMPNIS provided us with a power supply forecast, and they're projecting us our power supply cost to be approximately $8.2 million, which is equivalent to $45.75 a megawatt hour for our purchased power. The forecast that they provided us last year They have projected those power supply costs to be 11.9 million. And again, this year they're 8.2, and that is due to the success of our peak shaving. For 2026, we expect to see nearly $10 million in transmission and capacity savings. And this is also a good time to point out that the Auglaize Hydro Plant and the Bryan Solar Field, they continue to generate power at a negative cost when you factor in transmission and capacity savings and also the sale of RECs. Renewable resources represent about 23.8% of our power supply portfolio. And as you are aware, there is an additional solar project that is under review for 2026, which would further increase our renewable energy sources. And then the board also previously approved the Tallgrass Power Purchase Agreement, which was another long-term renewable power source. That is supposed to take delivery January 1 of 2027, but I just wanted to mention that one. This table takes a kind of a deeper dive into peak shaving and the effects that it has on our power supply costs. Again, for 2026 there, under the 100% column, that shows the 8 million in power supply cost. The 100% represents generation hitting 100% of the peaks. So you can kind of see the forecast for 27 through 29. You can look and see, you know, in 2027, we only hit 66% of our peaks. Our power supply costs are projected to be 13.5 million. But if we hit 100% of that, it's 10.9 million. So the table just really dives into the importance of the peak shaving. And also 2027 through 2029 is based on 29 megawatts of peak shaving, or essentially a summer peak, because we do have about 38.5 megawatts available. And this table here, this chart here, just takes a look at our overall power supply and the percentages that we get from each one of those projects or from the market. 3-year average is a little over 179 kilowatt hours per year. So just wanted to share our different energy sources and the percentages that we get from those. Move to the electric, the O&M budget. We can start with the revenues. The table kind of walks through all of the different revenue lines, charges for service. That includes our metered electric charges. That is where the bulk of our revenue is generated for the electric department. For 2026, proposing 17.7 million in revenues. Charges for service also includes JV4 transmission. That's the wheeling charge that we receive, security lights, special service charges, heat payment. And then also as we look to close out the 509 fund in 2026, we did add revenue lines in there for the man network inside, which is essentially our fiber customers within city limits, the fiber lease agreements that we have with the hospitals and the schools, and then the WAN network outside, which is essentially our fiber customers outside the city limits. Other operating revenue, you do notice from the 2025 budget to the 2026 proposed, there is a considerable difference. And that is because the fiber and coax lease of the 509 paid to the 501 went into that category. And that final payment that you authorized at our last meeting was $279,000. So there would no longer be that payment. Also, other operating revenue, that includes the sale of our RECs. In our 2025 budget, we had proposed $100,000. The actual in 2025 will be about $291,000. For 2026, still proposing the same $100,000 in revenues generated from the RECs. I think as many of us know, the value of RECs is on a downward trend, so still want to be conservative with our number. Pole contact rentals, that's the third-party pole attachment fees that we receive interest income. Interest rates have slowed, which is going to result in some lower earnings as well. Other non-operating revenue, there is a little bit of a change in there, but that includes wiring permits, the farm lease. Vehicle reimbursement is a line that we no longer use in how we capture and expend the fuel expense, so that explains a little bit of the change there. And then also transfers, you'll see a transfer of 1.57 million, and what that is that is the projected year-end fund balance in the communication fund, the 509 projected year-end fund balance that will be transferred to the 501 electric fund. So total revenues proposed for 2026, 20.7 million, which is about a $393,000 increase from the 2025 budget. On the expense side, you can see each of the different funds in the 501 there with their proposed totals. Just to note a couple of different things in here, the electric office. We are budgeting for an electric cost of service study. This is what we do every 5 years. Take a look at that. We'll work with John Courtney and Courtney Associates for that cost of service study. Also in the Clerk-Treasurer's Fund, which is one of the larger ones as well. That takes into consideration the proposed capital transfer from the O&M fund to the capital of $2.2 million. It also captures the debt service for the AMI, which is about $114,000 payment. And that last payment will be in 2033. The power plant, so we talked about power supply as our largest annual expense. We budgeted $9 million for power supply expenses there. Again, AMP forecasted 8.2, but what they don't do is they don't take into consideration service fee A and service fee B, which does add to our power supply cost. And then the other big one for the power plant is gas generation. We budgeted a little over $1 million for gas generation this year. $610,000 of that is for the storage agreement, and the additional is for the transportation delivery agreement and daily spot gas purchases. Sorry. Electric communications. Again, moving all the expenses from the 509 into the 501 for 2026. We did have to create a few new expense lines, software upgrades, the lease of the T1 lines or the circuits, internet O&M, and RTEC leases. And then across the other funds, the BPA, electric distribution, maintenance, all glazed solar, those are all pretty consistent with prior years' budgeted numbers. So total proposed electric expenses, $20.9 million, or about a $120,000 decrease from 2025. So taking a look at the 2026 projected year-end O&M fund balance for the electric department, we're projecting to begin 2026 with a fund balance of $16.4 million. We've got the budgeted revenues at $20.7 million. Total budgeted expenses at $20.9 million. That includes the transfer of $2.2 million and the debt service payment of $114,000, giving us an estimated year-end fund balance in 2026 of $16.2 million. That is a decrease in the fund balance of about $196,000, but it still does comply with the minimum cash reserve policy, and that calculation comes out to about $13.2 million. So I'll turn it over to the department heads and they'll go through their capital projects.
With the power plant, a couple things that we want to get ahead of the curve on because of the lead times and things. one is the Lawrence substation transformers. We want to get with engineering and get possibly a couple on order. This will represent maybe like a 10%, and we can specify what percentage we'll pay each year in the bid package that we send out, so that when transformer companies are bidding on it, they know that they're only going to get, say, 10% the first year. But they're 3 and 4 years out for 100 MVA transformers, so we want to at least get those started rolling before we get everything, get too far behind all that for the future growth. Also, GE number 6, the 1963 one, we want to upgrade its controls similar to what we did with GT1 and 2. It seems obvious, but we want to increase the reliability and the ability to start it up. Also, we'll decrease our training, trying to remember everything if we get the controls to be as close to identical as we can. I know it's been 3 or 4 years since GT1 and 2 were brought up, but I'm sure that most of the stuff can be relatively close, and we'll specify that in the bid. And it has to be an Allen Bradley, it has to be a Woodward gas control system, has to be a Basler exciter, stuff like that, to try to keep those so that we decrease the training and the maintenance and troubleshooting in the future for those kind of things. I'm looking at getting a new gator. The one we have, we put transmissions into it, we put differentials into it, and it was probably here 20 years ago, and it's pretty rough looking. You bought it. So, and then I'd like to get some other things on it, like a plow stuff, so we can speed up the process, and the guys can utilize their time much more efficiently than walking behind a snow blower or something like that. Also included in with that transformer is to get the Lawrence substation engineering started. That will tell us exactly what transformers we need to put on order and how we proceed for the future, which will then be presented to the BPA so that we know what direction we need to go to in the next 2, 3, 4 years out at Lawrence for growth. Zero-turn lawnmower, we're still hauling one around all the time. A lot of times the one that we bought over here for this side is we need to mow when we get those windows in the springtime when there's no rain, and everybody needs to mow. Well, we're trying to, and making it faster. So when we're at Lawrence, instead of having the utility tractor out there chugging along, we can zip along a lot faster and make it more efficient with the zero turn. And then, of course, the microcyclic change. I'm sure Joe will talk about that, but that's stuff that we have to upgrade across the utility. From an Auglay standpoint, which I don't see up there, there's just 2 things. One is the old standard, which is the concrete repair and all that kind of stuff. And we typically use that for doing the advanced rehabilitation coating and stuff like that. Some of the cost next year is we're going to have to fill in a part because some of the holes are too big, so we got to fill them in with concrete before we can spray them. So that's just going to be kind of a logistic thing, but we're going to work on that next year. And the other one is I was going to work with Hydro Consulting on a study for if we rebuild the units, what will be our ROI on those things? What will be our return on investment? And what do they think of what other things we need to do in the future to keep the Auglay's hydro working, and what it will cost and whether it would be worth doing or not. And then we can make decisions based on what may need to be replaced or just rebuilt the way it is. Any questions?
I do.
Sure.
Jim, great job. Question. With all these upgrades, everything, the generation is huge.
Yes.
That's where we save the greatest dollars to our customers. With these upgrades, are we looking at 5 years before we have to go back? Or 10 years possibly? I mean, what is the life expectancy of our generation?
It will depend on laws and things like that. If they don't change, then right now, everything is pretty much running as efficiently as we can get it. As far as from a control standpoint, Alan Bradley is the king in this area. They have been for years, the PLC side of it. So that stuff, we will be able to get components and things for like that for years.
Okay.
From the component standpoint. As far as a lot of the mechanical generation parts and stuff like that, a lot of them have been obsolete for years. So companies like Salsbury, and even on the hydro side, most of that stuff has to be manufactured. The nice thing about it is that they're all very versed in what to do and how to make those components. So they just would have to come up and measure it and then take it back and make one. I don't know, did that answer your question?
Yeah, again, like I said before, that's the future for the savings for the customers.
Yeah, as long as we can.
And like I said before,
behind it.
physically, the equipment's there
Yeah,
and upgrades happen. But I hope we're not in a Band-Aid position.
mechanically, we're very sound.
Okay,
There's nothing to mechanically upgrade, because those units were made for that model and then
Right.
they went to the next model. So if we were going to do anything there, we would be buying a new turbine. Yeah, those are very expensive at this point, which is why we PM everything is to the max.
yep. And that's my concern.
Yeah.
Is that, we're spending money here, but what do we get for the future value?
Well, the units are mechanically sound. We had the bore scope done a few years ago.
Right.
I got with a group that Entrust suggested, and so they came in, they're like retired turbine guys, and they came in to do a study to say what they thought we would need to do for future sustainability. I haven't got that report back yet.
Yep.
But as far as how we're spending money on repairs, we're very minimal because we're staying up on top of the PMs on that side. From the control standpoint, the Allen Bradley, the Basler Exciter, the Woodward fuel control, those kind of things are very easily accessible to get
Great.
currently.
Sounds like we're in a good position.
We're in the best position we could be in without buying a brand new everything.
Thank you.
Tell them how much a brand new 20 megawatt unit would cost you right now.
I don't.
Ballpark.
My guess is in the $15 to $20 million range.
That's what yep.
right.
Without researching new
Keep
prices.
them up to date.
That's why, when at the power plant, it's always kind of creepy when things break, or if you have to do a rebuild, you're talking millions. Everything's expensive over there. But if you stop and think about the savings that we get from that dependable generation, it pays for itself.
Like Jim said, 10 million.
And, thank God the power plant got a bunch of great guys over there. They stay right on the maintenance and make sure they're dependable. That's,
When I worked at Ohio Gas Company, my highest priority was make sure that you had all the gas you needed.
Which was questionable a couple times.
oh yeah.
We made it work.
We did. So we always appreciated having you on there, and Andy at the Ohio Gas is doing a great job for us.
I'm happy for that, because it is a high priority. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Couldn't have the peak shaving that we do without the equipment like that we have. And not every community has that.
No,
We're fortunate to
look at
have
Napoleon.
Could you imagine what your electric bill would be if we didn't have that?
I can't imagine, no,
It
I
would be
wouldn't
all,
like it either.
you
but-
couldn't afford it. You couldn't afford it.
right.
Morning.
Good job.
Electric distribution, go down here briefly. System URD and overhead rebuild projects are typical projects that come up throughout the year that we need to put a overhead line underground. I'm not specifically going to point to a certain project because it seems like every time I do that, we never get to them. And something always comes up, different. So yeah, it's kind of one of those things that it's there when we need it. To do our distribution pole replacements, again, you know, we try to shoot for 100 of those a year. Distribution transformers are all of our single-phase, three-phase, pad mount, pole mount, every transformer that we have in our system that capitalizes for those replacements. Overhead switches, again, 15,000 is about 3 switches that we can buy and replace. Fault indicators, just what they say, if we have a fault on the line, they give us the idea where the fault is, help on the outages and reliability. Street lighting, this year, we're gonna continue to replace poles in our East Village, Union Place, Deerfield, Commons Edition, some of those old Shakespeare poles that are coming unraveled. We're trying to get those knocked out and replaced. They're just looking pretty worn. Of course, they're 30 years old, so. But we're going to continue with that along with buying some more fixtures for our main High Street and Main Street thoroughfares in town. I don't believe I have any city project yet for lighting this year. I'm not sure, but some money would be available for that too, when it comes about. Transmission line rebuild, again, we're gonna try to buy some insulators to start replacing insulators from the old Daggett substation area over to Bechtel and down kind of D50 all the way probably out through here somewhere. Just in doing our 69 insulator changeouts. Mini excavator and trailer, that's directly involved with our directional boring. We've been finding a need to, we rent a unit every time we're out there to get in rear lots and be able to do excavations and things that we need to do with that method of construction. Truck 35 replacement, we are going to transfer the current truck 35 down to the line crew and install a lift gate on it for picking up our heavy, like our service savers, our bumper that we use, heavy pieces of material that we would need. It helps saves backs, put those in the back of the trailers and haul them out to the job site. So that's our plan, and then replacing 35 would be right that same type of truck. So we decided to go ahead and do that replacement. Truck 50 is currently a 75-foot bucket. We're looking at replacing that with a 100-foot buckets to take care of all of our transmission. This would be a 100-foot workable height bucket, all of our truck transmission poles that we have. Of course, with our current trucks, sometimes you have to set up just perfectly underneath them to reach where you need to do it. With a 100-footer, it makes it more versatile. We're able to set up maybe a little bit farther back than need to be. We do have upwards of 115-foot poles in town. We got one on the corridor, but we do have some 85s and 90s that we do have in our system. So we're continuing to do all the transmission work ourselves. So with that being said, we need this bucket to be able to service our transmission lines.
So you're getting a 100-foot instead of 75-foot?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a replacing a 75. I'm not sure why that got on there. But, the HFC fiber cabinet replacement, that is all the nodes that we have in town. Buying a piece of equipment. This is really Joe's department, but we will assist on getting those replaced. Probably be a smaller unit. The Microsoft Exchange 365, that's our Microsoft upgrade for all the machines that we have out back. Conan Drive underground project, that's our materials only. We'll be working in condom addition coming next year. And solar field interconnection would be, we currently have out of our industrial sub, we have a riser pole that goes up to a pole that we've set, and it's waiting there to extend. So we would be extending service to the solar field out here at the wastewater treatment plant area from that circuit. Not knowing where it's going to go exactly, we threw some money in there to be able to extend that line and buy some materials. And truck 47, that's communication truck replacement. And of course, that's a communication department, and we would time from time use that vehicle. So we're going to put money towards that and the electric distribution. And we use it up for Christmas lights and things. And it's also a backup service truck for us when need to. I believe that's it. Any questions?
Are you getting a lot of use out of the directional boring machine?
Yeah, we've been out in Deerfield, been boring out there.
For primary?
Yeah, primary and secondaries, both. We've got one section to do to complete that, and that's our goal to get that completed this year, by the end of the year. And there's a number, I was gonna, at the year-end report, I'm gonna come up with all the projects that we've done and the costs that we've saved by having the machine here. So I do have that kind of a running tally going, but I don't know what it is right off the top of my head. But we're gonna try to get that all worked out.
I imagine it's a lot easier in an open trench and conduit.
Yeah.
Guys get used to,
I remember that.
Yeah,
I mean, it takes time to learn how to.
It's, yeah, getting used to learning how to run a machine. They're getting comfortable with it, but it's still, there's some tweaking that needs to be done when you see other crews. We've had Michigan Underground down here, and they've taught us, how to do things, which was phenomenal. Just learning how to do the tricks that they know, that because they've been doing it for years, and they've helped us out quite a bit. And our Deerfield project, tackling that to me is a great thing. Just being able to get out there and do it ourselves and having that pride of completing a job like that. So, anything else? No?
Thanks, Al.
Thank you.
Thanks, Al.
For the electric communications capital for next year, the one thing we need to do is we need to recoat the head-end roof. About 20 years ago, it was recoated to try to preserve that roof, and it's past time. So we got quotes for that. We had a minor repair done on it this year around some vents that was leaking, and so we're going to get that sealed again, and hopefully that building will last a bit longer, at least the roof will. The truck 47 replacement that Al mentioned, some of you have worked here before know this bucket truck. It's quite aged, and we maintain probably close to 200 miles of overhead fiber in the county and the city. And that truck is shown itself to be unreliable at times when we go all the way to Eyre or Edgerton or whatever. And it's time to try to upgrade that truck. And as Al said, that is a backup truck for them, for their service truck and for other uses as well. The Microsoft Exchange, what that entails is, recently, not that long ago, we had to upgrade our Microsoft Exchange from what it was up to 2019. We couldn't go any farther at that time because they didn't have new versions out. But we knew that we would have to do it sooner rather than later. Well, what's happened is we did a lot of studies and a lot of calculations, and met with Derek, met with the mayor and those folks, And it's evident that it's less expensive in the long run, especially a 5-year plan, to use the new exchange, which is cloud-based. And where it's being cloud-based, that means that you must upgrade your machines, all your computers in the utility and the city departments to Microsoft 365, because that's how it ties into it, communicates. So it's going to be a large project, so that's the purpose for that. The county fiber rebuild, we have several miles of fiber, especially in the Edgerton and the Eden area. When it was constructed in a different manner than what we use here in the city. And we had some issues this year. We had to rebuild some of that. These dollars are in there in the event that we need to rebuild a mile or mile and a half of that during the year. And then the network cabinets, as Al spoke, all the node cabinets that was originally installed with the HFC system, most of those cabinets are rusting down and they're basically worn out, end of life. We're removing the power from them, so all that free service electric's going away, and we've already shut it down. But we're going to remove that, and we're going to put a smaller, they're called double door cross connect cabinets that are especially for the fiber optic plant. So that's any questions?
Okay, the truck 47 replacement cost is gonna come from the electric communications from the transfer over, right? This kind of might involve Al, there was a truck 47 replacement for a smaller dollar amount in your line item, your line? Is there a combination
It's the same.
of funds,
It's 80-20.
80/20? Okay,
And in truck 47, when it's replaced, it will probably go back to the power plant from whence it came. Because the current power plant has a need for working on cameras and structures there, so.
same thing goes for the cabinets out in the field, then there's two different, under the different 80/20 type of thing.
Right, and those old cabinets out in the field, Karen, they will just be, they'll be scrapped.
Yeah, you
They're-
can't
they're
reuse
not in good
those,
condition.
yeah. I gotcha. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Joe.
So the total electric capital budget's looking at $2.9 million. Just taking a look at the 2026 projected year-end fund balance for the capital, we're anticipating beginning 2026 with a fund balance of $3.5 million from the 3.6. We show the $2.2 million capital transfer. And then also in other revenues, you see $68,876. And what that is, that's the projected year-end fund balance of the 509 or the 535 capital fund. So that will be transferred from communications to electric. Total budgeted expenses, $2.9 million, leaving us with an estimated 2026 year-end fund balance of $2.9 million, which is a decrease of about $686,000, but overall the capital fund is still healthy with almost $3 million. Questions? Okay, we move to the water and look at the fund for the water. Starting with the revenues. Much like the electric table was laid out, charges for service here include metered water charges, and that is the largest source of revenue from the water fund, proposing $2.6 million in revenues in the water department. Very consistent with prior years, if you look at the 2024 actual or the 2025 projected year end. And so again, very similar with the budgeted number for charges for service. Other operating revenue, that includes testing or water sample fees from the bacteria lab at the treatment plant. Interest income, as mentioned earlier, the rates have slowed, resulting in lower earnings. And then other non-operating revenue, reimbursements, miscellaneous revenues in there, and also the farm lease as well. So 2026 proposed revenues, 2.76 million. 2025 budgeted revenues were 2.77 million, so just a decrease of about $10,000. Water expenses, just highlight a couple things here. The water office is consistent with prior years. The Clerk-Treasurer's Fund, that does include the capital transfer, which we're proposing to be $225,000. Debt service payments for AMI, which is $135,000 for water, and then the Town Line Road debt service, which is about $41,000 a year. Town Line Road, our last payment will be in 2029, and actually on that debt service, we do make 2 payments per year, so it's roughly $20,000 at a time, and in 2029, we only have one of those payments to make, so getting closer to the end of that debt. Distribution and treatment, again, to be consistent with the prior years. One big item to note in their O&M budget is the water tower maintenance agreement. That's a 10-year agreement for the painting, maintenance, inspections of both of our water towers, and that's $156,000 for them. So change from 2026, from 2025, it's an increase of about $58,000. I'm looking at the projected fund balance. We're projecting to start 2026 with just a little over $3 million in the fund balance. Our anticipated revenues of $2.7 million. Total budgeted expenses of a little over $3 million. That includes the $225,000 transfer and $175,000 in debt service payments. Give us a projected fund balance ending 2026 at $2.7 million. This is a decrease of about $275,000, but still does meet the minimum cash reserve policy. That calculation is $1.4 million. Any questions? Turn it over to Jimmy to go through the capital projects.
Good evening, everyone.
Hi, Jimmy.
The first budget item that you'll see up there is our hydrants and valves. This allows us to have a readily available inventory in our yard to improve our distribution system in unplanned events, such as fire hydrants getting hit, valves leaking throughout the system that may need to be repaired in a timely manner. Next, you'll also see the distribution saddle and service replacement. This allows us to purchase items and have on hand such as service saddles, water lines such as copper and PVC, corporation stops. When we have these items on hand, it allows us to minimize the disruption of water service. Typically, these go to water services that leak. It's mainly a copper line that leaks, so we're able to get to those quickly and repair those. The next item that you'll see will be our first main replacement project. That's the East Mulberry Street water main project. This project's going to consist of over 1,500 foot of 8-inch PVC water main. It's going to replace aging infrastructure, which is currently there from the 1950s. It consists of 4-inch cast iron main. This is going to greatly improve the serviceability and fire protection for those residents in that area. This will be at the 700 through 900 block. With that, there will be 42 new water services installed with 1 fire hydrant. The next 3 water main replacement projects that you see up there consist of West Bryan Street, South Annette, and BMU Street. Now, these funds were originally approved for in the 2025 capital budget. The funds that you see there now are the remaining funds. Majority of those funds have been spent, and we do have the product here on site, so we have all the pipe, the valves, the fittings, and the hydrants, and the service material here. What's remaining there is for the completion of the project. So any additional stone that we may need for backfill, maybe additional parts that we may need that we didn't understand from the get-go from the project, and for final road resurfacing. Next, you'll see the hydro study, phase 2. This is a continuation of phase 1 with Bennett and Williams consultants. So pretty much what this will consist of is drilling 3 test wells in an area that they would recommend to us based off phase 1 studies. What they can do in phase 2 is they can actually take geological core samples when they drill into the ground, and they can kind of bring that out straight from the ground and kind of see what bedrock there is, what sand is, what aquifers may be in that area. It may just be pulling from 1 aquifer or 2 aquifers. So that will be beneficial for us for the next phase of that hydro study project. Next, you'll see the Jones and Henry study. This is phase 2. This will consist of developing our general plan. The general plan is needed for Ohio EPA approval and for funding approval for the process. This will pretty much outline, okay, this is what the city of Bryan wants to go with. This is their plan. This is their treatment technique. This is their new raw water analysis. And this is what we're dealing with, and this is how we're treating it. And if we make any improvements or do a new facility, here's the construction plan. These are estimated costs that go along with it. It's all information that Ohio EPA needs for possible approved for that project. Next, you'll have the Rugged County network, like Al and Joe have touched on. The Rugged County is very crucial for us in the water industry, just because of the fact that we heavily rely on this with the AMI system, new AMI system, and our SCADA information. Our SCADA information is always live, and it's always needed to be available to us 24/7. And like Joe and Al also mentioned with the HFC fiber cabinets, those will be getting replaced this year as well. Some were replaced last year, but the majority of them will be replaced this year in 2026. And you can take a look for the Microsoft Exchange, the 365, for the water department, the clerk treasurers, and the water office. Those are just under $4,700. That's just to improve our emailing and our software and our communication throughout the city and the utility. And with that being said, our water capital budget for 2026, just over $1 million. Any questions? Thank you.
Jim, yes, I do, as a matter of fact. How many more 4-inch lines, water lines do we have left in town to replace?
I don't know that
Okay.
offhand, but I know, especially like on the east side of town, north part of town, they're pretty prevalent.
Okay. Thank you. It's not important to know today. Talk
I can
with
give
you
you that
later.
information. Thank you.
Thanks, Jimmy.
Take a look at the 2026 projected year-end capital fund balance. Anticipating to start 2026 with a fund balance of $940,000. The capital transfer that we're proposing is $225,000. And then in the other revenues column, we are looking at $240,000 in grant reimbursement. This is through OPWC, and this would be for the East Mulberry Street waterline project. Total budgeted expenses, just over $1 million, leaving us with an estimated fund balance ending 2026 at $338,000. This is a, $600,000 decrease to the fund balance in the capital fund, but we feel it's important to keep the water studies moving forward. We've talked about that timeline and the importance of keeping things going there. So, any questions? Okay, and we'll talk about the communications O&M budget here. This one is pretty straightforward as far as revenues go. We're not budgeting any revenues. Charges for service, just want to point out that cable TV charges and cable modem internet revenues were in here. Going forward, they'll be captured in the 501 electric fund with a miscellaneous revenue there. And then, as mentioned earlier, we created demand network, the fiber lease, and the land network revenue lines in the 501 fund. On the expense side, we have one expense that we're budgeting for, and that is the year-end fund balance. That will be transferred to the 501 electric fund. Again, we can follow the same path as the other departments, but projecting to start 2026 with a fund balance of $1.57 million. And anticipated expense for the transfer to the 501 of $1.57 million, leaving us with a fund balance of $0 at the end of 2026. On the capital side, again, no capital projects are proposed for the communications department. Spoke a little bit ago. We started 2025 with a fund balance of $70,852. Our year-end expenses in the communications capital fund, $1,976. So anticipating to end 2025 with $68,876, which would then be transferred to the electric 515 capital fund. So I guess just in conclusion, the 2025 budget was about $28.5 million. The 2026 proposed budget is $29.6 million. The key thing to keep in mind is that it is a proposed difference of a little over $1 million. But the entire 509 fund balance is being recorded as an expense that transfer is. So it does inflate our total budget. So in prior years, we would not have budgeted the entire 509 fund balance, but we are this year. So it makes that comparison seem higher than what it actually is. And that makes sense. Okay. So again, no approval requested tonight. We will return on the December 2nd meeting, asking for approval from the board and the recommendation to be made to City Council. Between now and the 2nd, I know the slide says there may be minor adjustments. I will just say there will be, but we'll provide you with those updated figures prior to that meeting. And I would say I wouldn't anticipate any significant changes. Are there any other questions budget related? Thank you.
Thank you, Derek. Thank you, everyone. Next on the agenda is to effect the semi-monthly disbursements. May I have a motion to pay the bills, please?
So moved. Second.
Dick?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Annette?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
And Karen?
Yes.
Next on the agenda is comments from BPA staff. Derek, will you please start us off?
I have nothing this evening, thank you.
Mayor?
I have nothing, thank you.
John?
Nothing. Unless you want to talk about unclaimed funds some more.
No, I'm good. Mr. Betts? Jimmy, you have anything to add? Al?
Electric warehouse is going good. We're substantially completed. We've got a few things to wrap up there in the connector between the two buildings, but we're substantially complete. And that was November 14th, that they met the substantial completion date. So,
It looks really nice.
yeah, it's nice.
It's
It
impressive.
blends really well together.
Yeah, if you get a chance and want to stop out and see it, let me know.
Okay. No? Joe? Paper?
No.
Deb? Anything? Brian?
No, ma'am.
Karen?
Actually, nothing tonight. Good presentation, other than congratulating Annette and for coming up with a great budget this year. And I know it's probably a struggle, and there's other things you had in your wish list, but you decide to put them off, and if something happens and you need those things, you do bring it to our attention, though. But thank you very much.
Dick?
I'd just like to thank Derek and department heads for the budget update. Looks like a great budget proposal. so far, so, yeah, good job. I know it's a headache every year, but, thank you.
Jim?
Yeah, no, I can see there's a lot of work went into this, so yeah, I want to thank Derek and the department heads, and thank you for the presentation.
Bob, you have anything to add?
Yes, just recognition, Jim Livergood passed away. He worked 30 years here at BMU, and may his memory be a blessing.
I want to say that I like the new budget format. Me being a detailed person, I really like it. So it helps me dig into it deeper and get a better understanding of where all the money is going. Great presentation by everyone. I have a tendency to agree with everyone. There's nothing out of the ordinary or crazy requests, so to speak, other than the cost of that new bucket truck at $575,000, but that's normal.
Try buying a fire truck.
I would like to also take the opportunity to wish everyone a very happy Thanksgiving next week. Believe it or not, we are at the end, almost at the end of November. And please come up for the lighting of the square on the Friday after Thanksgiving, and enjoy the Chris Kindle markets and the festivities around the square.
Yeah, and I do have something that I forgot, and I will be so quick, but I would like to thank you guys because we've had a lot of compliments from the chamber and everyone else about all the work you guys have been doing getting ready for this Christmas season, so thank you for continuing to partner with that. I know that you've had some windy, cold days, a couple nice days, but it looks great, so thank you
Excited for the season.
very much.
With that, if no one has anything else to add, I will have a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second?
Dick?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Annette?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
And Carol?
Yes.